second ago, I've heard some other great athletes that have turned into coaches say that becoming a coach is, and helping young talent is almost as good as being in there yourself. I guess, could you talk to us about, obviously the joy you had as an athlete and then now the joy you have as a coach helping other athletes?
Yeah, almost more so in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, it's almost more fulfilling. For me personally, having to watch someone else's journey, understanding and knowing what they've been through, not just athletically, but kind of in their lives too, and, seeing where they've come from and how they've grown, all that stuff is, those are really why we do it. Those are the cool stories why we do it, able to put someone in position to, buy their first home and, just kind of real cool life shit like that. At the point now where we're at maybe we're at like our third or fourth wave of fighters in the, that we put in the UFC. So we have a cohort of probably 7 or 8 guys, and we don't plan it. I'm just kind of in hindsight and thinking about everything. It's just kind of how we've seen the move. We can seem to, have these guys getting elevated kind of in groups, so to speak. So it's really cool that this cohort that's coming through now is really the first group that really started full time with us, from the ground up. So it's also provided some unique challenges and experiences too.
Yeah, I imagine. Now, going into the Oak Cliff Fight Club, which is now known as that, you guys opened up with, you already talked about Henry Hooft already, back in 2017 after leaving the Black Zillions. Why did y'all decide to open your own gym?
We had the personnel and the team, the personnel from a coaching standpoint and from the athletes. We had everything, but the business that we were a part of happened to go under. I shouldn't say it happened to, because we didn't just flip a switch and it happened on accident. But anyway, but yeah, no, we had no choice to. I mean, we had to eat, we had to survive. The fighters needed a place to obviously a place to train. So the Combat Club was really just kind of a stop until we found a more permanent full-time place. They were friends of ours and let us train out of their gym and, worked for both parties, until we were eventually able to, get our own spot.
Right. I was very curious, yeah. Now, since you became a coach, and obviously you're not training yourself at probably the same rate that you were as when you were an athlete, what does your workout routine for yourself look like now?
I work out occasionally. I work out occasionally. I'm honestly very active. I'm very active.
Right, I was going to say, I imagine you're still very active, but I'm just curious.
But as far, like I said, I always tell people like this. I work out occasionally, but I don't train. Training to me is some sort of repetition and plan and execution. I don't do any of that. I don't do that. I'll do something physical somewhat regularly. Help me feel good. Help my head get right. That's really about it. I try not to turn up too much wrestling. It's kind of like that mind and body thing is, that could still be super competitive and still want to get there and mix it up, but knowing my body probably shouldn't sometimes. So we got to, as former competitors, we got to be careful of all that shit.
Yeah, my girlfriend's cousin's husband used to play baseball, and now he's a coach. And he was talking to me about, he still has that competitive drive in him. He's trying to find something to get it out. And now he's started to take boxing classes just so he can kind of get that out of his system. And I imagine.
Yeah, you see, I'm the opposite. The way I view it. The way I view it is I view that I compete now more than I ever did. I got 60 fighters. I got 60 fighters in some form or fashion inside the gym, are in competition, whether it be with themselves, whether it be amongst each other, or whether it be with an opponent coming up. That's all part of competition, right?
Right.
I don't know how many times I sit in a corner during the year, but it's a pretty good number of times. That's all competition, so maybe it's not me in there executing it, but you still get that same buzz. At least I am still able to get that same buzz and feeling. And always get more nervous and as a coach and as an athlete, just because the locus of control isn't necessarily there.
No, I can understand that. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, like you said, you're still getting that competition, itch going. So it's not like it's gone completely. So no, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just not me scoring the points.
Right. Exactly.
I'm helping someone else score the points, so.
Now, when it comes to balance, I mean, you got a family at home. You're also a coach, which I imagine those hours are not obviously the 9 to 5 most people would imagine. What does balance look like in your life?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I think something you see often with high performers or high achieving athletes, or really any walk of life, achieve a high level or a certain level of success. That's where balance is often difficult to obtain. To be honest, I've never been good at it. Someone asked me this question a few weeks ago, and I kind of laughed and said, he said something like, I just go until inevitably I hit a wall, and and that's basically what I do. And, gravity works. Gravity's undefeated. So I go until I can't go anymore, and I got to hit the reset button, and which is fine. But the more difficult part is you add in, at least for me, and kind of like my lifestyle, you add in the travel, right? You add in, we've been going back and forth to Las Vegas or the West Coast pretty much since COVID. We've been on the East Coast a few times, so, going back and forth from the West Coast, we fight on Saturday in Las Vegas and I get a flight home on Sunday, say 9 a.m., that still doesn't put me home in Florida until sometime after 7 or 8 p.m. So I'm able to maybe get a bite to eat and go to bed, and I wake up and I go to the gym, whereas the fighter that I was just on the road with, maybe he stayed an extra day and he's going to be out of the gym for the next week or two. And that process just kind of repeats itself. So maybe, so the balance part is really hard. Maybe harmony, just being calm and at peace with the task at hand and the responsibilities that I have. But I definitely, especially as I get older, I definitely need and probably should start carving out more time for myself, and perhaps would make me a more effective leader and coach too.
Yeah, I'm also running into the same thing where I have work, I have a girlfriend, I have this podcast, and dividing the times up can be tough because when you're home, you might still work on stuff, but you're supposed to be home. You're not supposed to be working still. You're supposed to be spending time with the family. You're supposed to be,
right.
Doing the things, or spending time with friends as well, and so it's not, balancing is always going to be a juggling act, obviously, because you're balancing it. So right. It's always something I think, even probably the most disciplined people probably still struggle with it, because what if somebody's late? What if there's traffic? What if, life and nature will always get in the way of what you imagine things are going to happen. If everything happened exactly the way people thought they were going to happen, life would be beautiful. But life isn't that way. It
wouldn't be very fun either, though.
Exactly.
It'd be easy. That must be fun.
Yeah, you can't enjoy it if it's all easy all the time, which right. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, don't realize that, you got to put the work in. You got to you have to be able to be flexible when it comes to schedules or things not working out the way you think it's going to, or, you know, whatever. I mean, I think that's just life in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some oxymorons that play there too, right? You want to be flexible, but still rigid in a certain sense with certain things.
Right.
But I think, you know, and those are, you know, concepts that really only make sense in, in conversations like this. You know, on the surface they're kind of counterintuitive, but yeah, no, I think you nailed it. You know, I think, you know, we all often get caught up too much times in things that really don't matter that much. And one thing I do is too also is you know, I'll just become just very selective of with who and where I spend my downtime. That has you know, has had a pretty good effect. You know, just learning how to say no to people, which I've struggled with from a business standpoint in the past. You know, just kind of things like that. I'm very deliberate on commitments I make. You know, outside of work, I'm very deliberate about commitments I make and who I do it with. Really, just to allow my brain to kind of do what it wants to do and recover and kind of shut, you know, a part of my life off for a minute, you know.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say it earlier about the oxymorons. Like, you're not supposed to say no to things in life, but you also can't say yes to everything because then, you don't have time for things. So saying no to things is definitely something that, you know I struggle with a lot, and I imagine a lot of other people do as well. I mean, that goes back.
You don't want to disappoint people, right?
Yeah. Who wants to make people?
And I've done it too. I've done it. You know, where I learned this from is like doing like wrestling camps and different seminars and stuff. You know, people approach me quite regularly, and I was always yes. When is it? You know, 10 months from now, whatever. I was like, if I'm available, we'll follow up in a couple months. If I'm available, I'll do it. You know what I mean? And then you find yourself the event or seminar approaching, you know, 2 days out, and you're like, fuck, why did I commit to this? I don't want to do this. You know, and you do it. I still do it and do it to the best of my ability. But it's just kind of like little things like that little stressors that, you know, that I'm at least learning or trying to eliminate from my life.
Yeah, I have that as well. Plus, I have terrible FOMO, so that does not help anything whatsoever.
Right. I can imagine.
Yeah. Now, I have a segment on the show I call the 5 count. I could just have 5 quick questions to answer as rapid fire as you can.
All right, let me fire them off.
All right. How do you take your coffee?
Black. Espresso, black.
Oh, okay. That was super bitter. Even better. If you owned a liquor company, brewery, winery, or coffee shop, which one would you own and what would the name be?
I would own a coffee shop somewhere in the Caribbean with a little bookstore on top of it. A little coffee bookshop, maybe mixing a little cigars in there. Had a nice little vibe, had a nice little environment, good music, welcoming in the community. What was the second part? What would be the name of it?
Yeah, what would the name be?
I don't know. I don't know. That would tap into the creative side of me that I'm not really good at. Books and brew and books, something like that.
That's not bad. I like the fact that you had cigars on there as well. I have never seen a coffee and cigar place. I imagine they exist somewhere. I've just never seen them.
Perhaps. They seem to go together. Maybe not as much as cigars and bourbon, but why not coffee too, right?
I like cigar and tequila. I think they're
perfect.
Yeah. Favorite sport besides MMA or wrestling?
We'll go with football. Okay. I'm a big college football fan.
Who's your team?
Pittsburgh. My West Virginia is my college team. Pittsburgh Steelers, NFL. Pittsburgh kid, man. Okay. That's the only team we're allowed to have.
There you go. Who inspires you?
Who inspires me? As I get older, I've gained more and more inspiration from my parents. As I got